All right, let's get everybody else up in here before it's officially time. All right, there we go. Welcome in, guys. It is 7:31 a.m. Mountain Time. It is March 1st, and that means it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. Hopefully, everybody's got their coffee in hand. Scott, good morning. How are you? Happy NFL Combine kickoff.
Yeah, good morning. It's March 1st. I almost consider this like the first day of the new year to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Working in sports for so long. The Super Bowl is over. You're putting the final wraps on, the signing day stuff that happens in February when you're in recruiting is done. Now it's time for 2022 officially.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I see the offseason is such a busy hurdle it has been for the Broncos because they're continuously firing head coaches or new general managers because they've been stuck in this perennial world of inadequacy. So for me, the offseason, the new year doesn't really begin until, like I say, rookie training camp kicks off. So we're still in the midst of everything. And honestly, this is the busiest time of year. Free agency leading up to the draft and then the draft, which is just a marathon. But God, I love it. It's my favorite time of year for football, and it'll help bridge the gap between now and good weather in summer. So let's see who is all in here. We got Ethan. Good morning to Ethan. Happy Tuesday to you. Happy March. Good morning, gents and Broncos
and
country.
real quick, I mentioned earlier before we came in that said, Ethan, I didn't see him yesterday. I was like, I thought I saw you early, but I wasn't sure. I knew I didn't see you as much as I normally do, and here's why. With the stuff that we talk about that in the grand scheme of things just doesn't matter. Ethan's wife is Ukrainian, so he had to dip out at times in and out today. So hope everything's going okay for you and her and her family and your extended family and friends and all of that type of stuff, because it seems a little surreal to us here in the United States. But it is very real to people, and this world keeps getting smaller and smaller as technology advances. So hope everything's okay with you and yours.
Gosh darn, Ethan. Yeah, that's football is an escape, and we make a mountain out of a hill of beans constantly in here just because we can. But stuff like this, really puts things into perspective.
Yeah, yesterday I was all fired up about an overtime rule.
Yeah.
When we're talking about, what's actually going on in the world, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ethan, thank you very much for letting us know that as well. I mean, just sharing a little bit about yourself, and send you all the good vibes and your wife all the good vibes possible. But everybody over there, I mean, God, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. All right, back to it. Luke Wright coming in saying, "Good morning, Nick and Scott. Can't feel my legs. Yesterday was leg day." All right, Luke. Well, hopefully you're sitting down and
Luke,
enjoying yourself.
You might be a little younger because I did a couple like pitiful squats on Sunday, so I feel them 2 days later. I'm just tired the next day, and then day 2, day 3, and day 4, I'm hurting because I don't do them enough because leg day.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, let's keep it going here. We got Mile High Truth. Good morning, Broncos World. Great to see you. Dave Glassman saying, smash that like. Yeah, if you guys haven't done so yet, welcome in. Broncos for Breakfast every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I, along with Scott Kennedy, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Nick Kendell, MHH. And Scott's at Scout Kennedy. Please like, subscribe, and share to the channel. Follow us on Facebook. And I can see a couple likes coming in here above me here on the channel. So I appreciate you guys answering that quick call to action. There we go. Went from 10 to 14. Just like that. Love you guys. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Unfortunately, I'm at work this morning, which is unusual for me on a Tuesday this early. Coming in from James Hyatt. That's okay, James. Technically, we're at work right now too, right? So we can just hang out and talk a little ball at work. Klee coming in also with the $5 super, kicking us off today with the super. Thank you so much, Klee. I tried to stay away, but you two are just too good to miss. Well, we appreciate the kind words. Obviously, not everything we say is going to be everybody's favorite from time to time. Sometimes we say little things that are provocative and inflammatory, but it's content machines, so we got to have some fun with it too. And again, talking about Ethan here with his wife, it's just for fun. It's not a big deal.
We just can't quit you, Klee. We can't quit you.
Scott's favorite movie, I think. No, he said he never seen it.
I just know the quote.
Me neither. Yep. Big E Bronco, what's up, everybody? Great to see you, Big E. Brian Dunn, good morning, everybody. Checking in from Decatur, Georgia. How close is that to you, Scott?
Everything is 20 minutes from Johns Creek. So okay. Where I live, it's a geographical oddity. Name that one, Jeremy. I know you're in here. It's a geographical oddity. 20 minutes from everywhere. So I can be in Decatur in 25 minutes. It's just south of me. Brian's a little bit closer to the city than I am.
Nice. Nice. We also got Sean Burns in the house. Good morning. Looking like the Broncos might have a chance to give Locke a chance unless they find, or might give Locke a chance unless they find a quarterback that's better. He's here. He's young. He's under contract, and he's a decently known quantity. Top. He's not going to be a bottom 50 quarterback in the NFL, especially last year. I don't think so. Especially last year protecting the football. So definitely he might get a shot. He's here. And as long as he's here, I think he is going to get a shot. Speaking of Jeremy, there he is. Good to see you. Hope all is well and remains that way, Ethan. Absolutely. EJ, good morning, Nick and Scott. DeAndre Weatherspoon, great to see you. US Dave's in the house. Steven, good morning, guys. Talking about Drew Lock. Steven shall appear. Gabriel Felix, March season baby. Chris Graham's in the house. Jacob Foster coming in with stars. Great to see you, Jacob. Thank you so much for your continuous support. And Jacob always gives stars, which we really appreciate, but typically doesn't have questions. So if you have anything for us that you want us to talk about, get at us. We'd love to help.
Like I said, I follow up on YouTube. I check the YouTube comments more. It's just easier for me.
Yeah.
So anybody, I go back through this stream at least once.
Yep.
Afterwards and look at the comments, and I'll interact and clarify something. Scott, you took Desmond Ridder with the 40. Yeah, that was a mistake. I screwed up. Hit that one. Nick blew up my mentions yesterday on Twitter with that one. So, but yeah, it ended up working out okay. Our little mock draft worked out okay because I would have taken Travis Jones with the first second round pick, and then Desmond Ridder with the second round pick. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. We'll see what happens. And I think Dave saying trade back like we should have last year. I think it's very possible. Chris saying time to shift gears and move forward. Definitely possible. We'll see though. I need the nail in the coffin before I officially move forward. Clayton here on saying morning guys. Ashton, it's been a second. Morning guys. Nick gets high on coffee and football and hiking. I'm getting excited for the hiking season to come in yet. Everybody send me their good vibes. I put in my lottery permits for the enchantments and Mount Rainier. If I get the Mount Rainier one, it's so hard to get that I probably will take 10 days off and do the complete backpacking trip around Mount Rainier, which is 93 miles, which would be pretty intense, but YOLO, right? We gotta go for it. And Ethan saying, nice talks and Broncos. Absolutely. Lawrence Rivera, always coming in with stars. Hopefully you're doing pretty well, Lawrence. Hopefully the family's doing well. What's up, guys? Inflation. Target going to 25 an hour. Talking about the world that we're in. Yeah, I mean, definitely possible. Who knows? I don't know if you guys were with us Saturday night. Was it Saturday night or yesterday where I tried to make a comment about the salary cap being like the national debt that's just always growing? Like, I don't know. If you're going to make me talk economics, I am going to fall apart. Gabriel coming in, truly the best part of football besides the actual games pre-draft. And then the draft itself, man. I just love the theater of the actual draft event itself. So much fun. Mark Schrader, good morning, Nick and Scott. Thank you so much for the stars, Mark. And we also got Trevor Sandel, morning fellas in Broncos country. Jamal Killings in the house. I think we've gotten almost everybody here.
What's strange is Mark isn't showing up in my feed. So, Mark, are you on the Mark? You're usually on the Mile High Huddle group. Did you happen to pop in on like the Huddle Up Podcast Facebook group? Either way, because I don't see because the only one I watch is the busier one. It's the Mile High Huddle, the main page, and I don't see you showing up in here. So, anyway, usually I get to see and like or whatever and whatnot. And Michael Renquillo coming in, just finished by far and away the top superstar on Facebook for the month of February, coming in with and kicking us off with a bang. So, Michael, thank you so much as always, for your continued support.
Yep, and Michael says today is the NFL Combine, and good morning Broncos country. Great to see you as well. And we got some oh brother where art thou comments coming in here as well. That's awesome. We got Nick. Don't recognize this name. Let's go bring Rodgers to Denver. Hopefully we'll find out today. Yeah, let's get right into it. And DeAndre, thank you so much, DeAndre. Always coming.
And Jeremy got I knew he would. Jeremy gets I think 99 out of 100 references that I make for movie references. So yes, oh brother where art thou.
Love that movie.
Well, in this place of geographical oddity, 2 weeks from everywhere. Love that because that's why I use that all the time because that's where I live. I live 20 minutes from everything in Johns Creek. Nothing closer, nothing farther away. It's 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robert Smith says, good morning. Thanks to y'all from Tucson, Arizona. You're out there with Michael Ronquillo. Also, Eli wants a shout out, please. He's at work. Hi, Eli. Here's a shout out. Great to see you. All right, so getting into it.
Wow,
go ahead. I'm watching from Somalia, and it's 5:38 p.m. Hashtag Broncos country. Well, hello in Somalia. Hopefully everything you're going well there. I definitely did some world history classes that I tutored. Remember reading about Somalia. So, welcome in. This is, I think, the first time I've ever seen somebody in our chat saying they're from Somalia.
I'm gonna
So
try and pull
that's
this
that's
off.
awesome.
Once again, proving that Broncos country is not a geographical location, but a state
Yeah,
of being.
absolutely,
How'd I
man.
do?
You nailed it. Hello,
Okay, good,
Chad.
good.
Good to see you. And also we got Ryan Liston coming in. Good morning, Broncos country. Sunny days in the house. Also, thank you guys so much. Let's get this. My comment bar is impossible to find unless I click
Yeah,
emojis.
Facebook was out for 20 minutes last night during the chat. So it's still acting up a little bit. So there's some folks that are coming into this chat that I can't see them all the time. It's funny, they're not showing up on Facebook, but they actually come through our StreamYard chat. So I see you here, but then I can't. Anyway, who cares? Let's move on.
Let's move on. You're right. So first bit of information coming in here that maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. I mean, things are going to change between now and April as well. You're obviously going to have free agency,
I left
trades,
my
etc.
French press in the other room.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, Scott will be right back. I'll let you guys know what's up. NFL insider, Broncos insider, Mike Klis yesterday did a quick little interview with Channel 9 News
Whew, that was a
live.
close one.
You okay?
Yeah, man.
I better take a sip as
I was
well.
almost panicked.
Mike Klis at the NFL Combine, met Mike at the Combine a few times. We talked probably a good 30 minutes about Christian McCaffrey and the validity of trading up in the top 10 for a running back. I said, Mike, that's a dumb idea. We shouldn't do that. He's like, but the narrative. And I was like, no, that's dumb. They shouldn't do that. But didn't. Broncos got Garrett Bowles, who's probably a more valuable player going forward than Christian McCaffrey, maybe, given he's a running back, but we'll see. Miguel also coming in. Good morning, fellas. Awesome to see you, Miguel. Thanks so much. Doug Freeland's also in the house. But talking about Mike Klis, he had a little interview yesterday with Channel 9 News in Denver, saying that the Broncos, right now, as he put it, none of the quarterbacks are quite ready to be the 9th overall pick. A very nice way of saying none of them are good enough players or prospects to be a top 10 pick, but I digress. So he says, don't expect the Broncos right now to take a quarterback at 9. We'll see if that plays out and it remains to be true. But with the Broncos having a surplus of day 2 selections, expect for them to be strong, to have a strong possibility to package some day 2 picks and move back into round 1 at the end of round 1 to get a quarterback or take a quarterback in round 2. So, Scott, this has been music for my ears because I've been saying for a while that, I'm tantalized by the tools of Malik Willis. He's just so inconsistent, snap to snap, down to down, that it's hard for me to see it all coming together where he is a very good quarterback. And I don't think he's going to get the runway that Josh Allen did. He's not Josh Allen as a tools freak. So I've been screaming, don't take a quarterback at 9 this year. I love quarterbacks. Don't take one at 9. I don't see any of these guys being that probable, but trading back into round 1, taking one day 2, that's what if you have to take one, that's what you should do.
Yeah, and Patrick coming in with some stars. Thank you so much, Patrick. Appreciate the support, my friend. And we said this all along. What was the first question you asked me when we were at Senior Bowl? What your first impressions? My first impressions were I still don't want any of these guys in the top 10. I don't want them at 9. I'm okay in the 20s. If you can pick up a 15 or something and move back some, however you want to do it. You want to take a guy. Say this about the draft, basically a lot about all the players. Sound like a repetitive idiot. Oh, I really like this guy. Just not at 9. Oh, I really like this guy. Just not at 8. But I like all these guys between 25 and 50. There's 50 players that I would take between 25 and 50. But do I really want to have the finances tied up into a top 10 pick? Or would I rather trade back and get 2 number 2s? Would I rather trade a 9 and get a 25 and pick up another 53? Yeah, maybe. I like that idea. I've always kind of believed, and it was a question when we do recruiting rankings, quantity over quality, and you've said it before, the more arrows in the quiver, the more chances you have a shot to hit a bullseye. And this is the draft of all drafts where I think that's going to be true because there's good players. There are good depth players all through this draft, through 75 players. I don't know that any of them are for sure. I don't know that any of them are the sure thing. Like I said, the surest thing, I'd make a case for Kyle Hamilton coming off the board number 1 overall. I really would.
Yep.
As crazy as you're going to take a safety number 1 in this draft, if I can't trade down, I might.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get a guy that can play.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Jeremiah, who's now the face of the NFL draft for NFL Network, he actually did his press conference. I believe it was Friday, maybe it was Saturday. And he said that from pick 60 to 60, good luck, because it's just a hodgepodge of players that there's not really a clear delineation after the first 5 picks in the draft, first 6 picks in the draft. So yes, that means the Broncos ideally would be trading back and getting more capital. They already have 5 picks in the top 100, but if you can get yourself a lot of picks in the the 20 to 60 range, that might be the way to go in this draft class. The caveat being, well, somebody has to want to trade up and give you those picks for that. Maybe a team like, and I guess what I'm holding out hope for, Scott, is that there is a massive leak in the Pittsburgh Steelers front office, because last year at this time, everybody knew it was going to be Najee Harris. A few years ago, everybody knew they loved Devin White and Devin Bush. This year, everything is Malik Willis coming out of Pittsburgh. Everything. So I think and
They're playing the
Denver.
long game, Nick. They're playing the
Yep,
long game.
I guess. But Pittsburgh, I think that they're a team that very easily could be the one to be the aggressor and come up. Because of this draft class,
You better
even though
come
they
to
are,
8 then. You better come to 8 because the Falcons are going to take Malik Willis.
yeah, we'll
So
see.
you better offer us a couple number ones
It's
down in
possible.
Atlanta.
I think that, unfortunately, we've been talking about, the Broncos trading back and getting, 2023 first. I'm guessing that if Denver does trade back, they're going to have to accept that they're not going to get a 2023 first, because people aren't going to be tripping over themselves to go up and get that quarterback. But again, that's just one to keep an eye out for if the Broncos do trade back. And then, we're going to be talking about a whole different set of players. Maybe sometime, Scott, we should do a mock draft where we mock that trade and then kind of look at the who's available at 20, because it's always a little bit different than who's there at 9. But
Yeah,
it
we can
does.
force those. So we'll figure
Yeah.
it out. Yesterday, we tried to do that quickly on the fly, and I screwed it
Yeah.
up, which brings an interesting question on here. First, I want to hit Mark's question, but
Yeah.
Roderick, I see your question just right after this. I want to hit on as well. Mark coming with a big star saying, "Hey guys, which running back do you feel would fit our scheme in or after round 4? I know we have Boone, but still need another. I think so. You're going to want 3.
Yeah.
So use 4 or later. Use a later cheap pick for your 3rd round guy. I don't know scheme wise. I mean, I believe running backs are running backs. I really do. I look. You guys know me enough by now. I look at players more than how they scheme fit, because schemes change
Mhm.
and you can adjust schemes to the talents a player has. I really like Rashad White from Arizona State. I like his lean. He gets really low for as long and lean he is. He's just a little over 6 feet, 200 pounds. I like Dameon Pierce from Florida. I think he's got a really good burst as far as, and I put some quick videos of him. I didn't even call these highlights I put on my channel. I just called them Senior Bowl clips, because there weren't a ton of them, because my 3rd day got washed out where I usually do running backs, quarterbacks throwing. There's a lot of running back stuff in there. But James Cook, running back, could be around in the 3rd, 4th round, maybe. Speed guy from the University of Georgia. So, if you've got your hammer, you've got your number 1, there's not going to be too many carries. You're hoping the guy that you take in the 4th, 5th, or 6th, or 7th round isn't going to touch the ball much, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I really like somebody who really stood out at the Senior Bowl to me was Dameon Pierce. They did not utilize him enough at Florida, in my opinion. I think he had the highest yards after contact per attempt out of all running backs
He's
last year.
built
And
like a bowling ball. I mean,
yes,
I'd have to look it back up real quick, but I think he's 220 range and wide, but he
yep,
has really good lateral movement, which
yeah,
I like that. If I can get you off balance with just a little shake and I'm round, you're going to slide off me and I'm going to break tackles. You
yep.
see with Javonte Williams. I mean, you see with
That's
Javonte Williams all the time. You can't wrap this guy up because you can't get your arms around him.
absolutely. Also, he's had a lot of at the Senior Bowl. I thought he had very good pass blocking reps, which for me that is a must have. That's like if you can't pass protect at a running back in today's NFL with how teams are blitzing on 1st and 2nd down and all the simulated pressure, coming up the A gap with a free rusher. If you're a negative in pass protection, you're not simply put, you're not going to be on my team. I'm not going to advocate for you. It's a must have for me at the running back position. And I think he's very good there in that extent. I really like Williams from Notre Dame as well. I think he's going to go round 3. Ty Chandler really sticks out to me from North Carolina, watching a lot of Sam Howell this year. He is a former pretty high recruit from Tennessee. I think he's a very well-rounded player as well. Good balance, good receiver. And one of my favorites in this class. I think he's going to have to do some work as a pass catcher, but I'm not looking to throw the ball to my running back. I don't really care as much. I want him pass protecting there and running the ball and getting guys in the box and dictating defensive personnel. And
See, I
that is
grew up with the likes of like Dave Meggett, and Roger Craig and Wendell Tyler and all those guys and the fullbacks and the third down specialists, so I like a running back that can catch the ball and do something, because again, if I can get him in space and get him behind where he doesn't have to even face the defensive line,
yeah.
then he's doing some damage. I do like my running backs to be able to catch the ball.
It's nice, but it's ornamental to me a little bit. I'm hoping that I can get the ball to my wide receivers or even a tight end. And this is very much dictated by digging further into the analytics and data. Running backs EPA per play as a receiver is just so far and away less than wide receivers. And in today's NFL, I mean,
Well,
we've
and
seen
again,
it
the
with
rules have changed so much.
yeah,
Like you just said, in today's NFL.
yep,
See,
yep,
I'm old.
games. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I'm old. I'm a
don't get me
product
wrong.
of the '80s. When
I love
tight
Darren
ends and
Sproles.
fullbacks actually mattered.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch some San Francisco football. You can still get into that, or some Iowa Hawkeye football. Everyone drink. But a guy I want to give a shout out to is Tyler Algier at BYU. He's about 5'11", 225 pounds. And if you watched any Zach Wilson last year, he was a dude back there. I think he's a very good fit for the zone scheme. So I'm really interested in Tyler Algier out of BYU as well.
And Roderick, I like this. Says, I'm intrigued. When you made your mistake in the mock draft, Scott, do you think with the chaos on draft day, such mistakes are made in reality? Yeah, maybe not that bad where I took the wrong guy, but you'll see every couple of years where someone doesn't get their pick in, and then the guy's standing there. Like, let's say I'm picking at 8 for the Falcons and Nick's sitting there at 9 with the Broncos. It usually happens a little farther down the line, but I've seen it like happen in the 20s. Nick's standing there at the podium while the Falcons are still on the phone. And as soon as that clock hits, he turns in. Now the Broncos just got the 8 pick. That's happened. That stuff happens.
That happened.
So I consider that a mistake. Those type of things. Now, a lot of this stuff doesn't become public when they screw up and make those type of mistakes. But yeah, there's communication errors. A lot get, things get lost on the phone. I'm on the phone with my owner, if they're a meddling owner and they didn't happen to be in the war room. So yeah, it's a chaotic day. And mistakes happen. Not hopefully not as bad as mine, where I'm looking at 3 players on a screen this wide and trying to pick out of that list.
Yeah.
They'll be a little more prepared than I was yesterday.
You know what we did? I think the mock that we did was great. I do think that Travis Jones falling to 64 might be a pipe dream, but overall, I think it was. I mean, walking away with those 3 guys, I would have 0 complaints. Honest to God. One of the mistakes the draft day that did happen was a few years ago. I think it was the Minnesota Vikings were on the clock, and their time expired, and the Jags sprinted to the podium and made the pick before them to select Byron Leftwich. And then I don't remember who the Vikings took after that. I don't know if they were going to take Byron Leftwich, but their time on the clock, if you extend it, if you go over it, guess what? The team behind you can make a pick. And that's what happened.
Gabriel comes in and says, Steelers are studs in the draft. Steelers and Ravens are my 2 favorite teams, and Patriots. Those are my 3 favorite teams when it comes to drafting. And it helps when you're the Steelers and Patriots, and you don't have to take quarterback for 15 years.
Yeah.
It helps. It helps your draft when you're a decent team, and you can take a chance on the athletes, and you got a team and you can wait on them a little bit to develop. I swear every single freaking season you look and you're like, this guy's a monster. How did he last to the Ravens took him? Yeah, that makes sense. Adafa Owe, that's my guy from last year. Of course, this fire-breathing athletic freak of a pass rusher goes to the Ravens because no one else had the balls to take him before they did.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. One more story here. I don't know if this one will get me in trouble, but I think it's far enough in the past now where maybe the people who were responsible for this are no longer making decisions. I know of a specific incident where the Broncos made a mistake in the draft where they had names up on a board and somebody took some names down that were not down yet, and they panicked and picked somebody because the board was different than what it was in reality, and they didn't find that until after the fact when they made their selection. So that happened. it was over 4 years ago now. So, but that happened with the Broncos. So
Real quick, getting back to the running backs. Tyler Beatty is a running back from Missouri, from the Missouri Tigers.
yep.
Hugely productive. Led the SEC in rushing, about 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, I think. I'm not a huge fan. I think I like his balance. I like the way he runs the ball, all that stuff. I just don't think for his size, he's about 5'7", 5'8". I don't think he's quick enough. I think he lacks the burst where he can get away with that as a very skilled runner. I just don't think he's got the physical tools for the next level. So we'll see. We'll see on him. But I'm not a huge fan of Tyler Beatty for the NFL.
Yeah, no, I'm not as much either. And again, I want guys who are Tyler Beatty is more of the if he's in the backfield, he has to be almost a running wide receiver option. I want somebody who can be a pass protector back there. And who's protecting us today? DWI guys saying enjoyed Eric Trickle's mock, traded 9 pick for Aaron Rodgers, get Boye Mafe in the second, and Braxton Jones and Marcus Jones in the third. I'm on board with that. I thought he was a little bit high on Braxton Jones to take him at pick 75, personally, but again, when you're mocking, you don't know how the board's going to fall out that far down. So maybe he goes earlier than that. It just seems a little early for me for a guy from Southern Utah. That said, what does he have? 36-inch arms, pretty good athlete. He's definitely a good developmental player. I just thought it was a little early for me. I love Marcus Jones in the third. That is especially pick 96, I think it was. Marcus Jones. Okay, the Broncos.
Where is Marcus Jones? Here's some video on Braxton Jones. We'll play. I love this guy's length.
Yeah, he's long.
I actually like Malone from Western Kentucky late in the D'Angelo Malone,
the edge rusher.
Late. I do like him.
Yeah.
But the length from Braxton Jones here and the base he plays with.
Yeah. And they went up against some serious competition, too. I think they played San Diego State, who has a bunch of pass rushers. They played maybe BYU also. So it's not like they only played some crap teams this year. No offense.
Yeah, and again, getting back into the good luck at the 6 to 60 range,
yep.
I could see Braxton Jones coming up into that area for an offensive tackle. People say when you draft, well, where's your offensive tackle? Here's a guy for sure. He can play left or right side. I think this is Kingsley and Enagbare that he was going against in that play.
The only person at the combine who has longer arms than Kingsley Enagbare, or at the Senior Bowl, was Braxton Jones.
Yeah, so I do like him. I like him a lot.
His pads, he's got to learn to play with a little bit lower pads. But again, coming from Southern Utah, it's probably going to take a couple years before he comes in here. And as far as talking Marcus Jones, I love Marcus Jones. I think it was Dane Brugler originally mocked him to Denver at pick 64 in his first mock draft. And I'm like, for a 5'8" cornerback, that's a little high. Can we please get him round 3, though? I want to see what else is there. But 5'8", in some schemes, that's really going to matter. I don't think it matters that much for what Evero is going to do if it is replicating off of what he's done the past 2 years. The last 2 years, the Rams have had the highest rate of off-man coverage or off coverage from their cornerbacks in the NFL. And what does that mean? You need a cornerback. If they're small, they need to be competitive as bleep at the catch point. Marcus Jones is competitive as bleep at the catch point. He's also probably the best returner in football. So double dip in there.
And if I put the kind of money I have into the Broncos secondary, I want more pressure from my front seven. And I think we're going to see that too. So, going corner that early might make sense as well. Like we talked about before, if I can lock the guys up on the backside with man coverage, I can send a bunch of people. I think, I don't know if he actually said it, but somebody on here, it was either you or Zach, was talking about his scheme, saying if we don't get them with 4, we're going to send 5. If we don't get them with 5, we're going to send 6. I love it. I absolutely love it. I get so tired of watching a team dink and dunk its way down the field. It drives me crazy. I'm like, would you please go get the quarterback? I'd rather have you beat me deep while I'm going after you than just death by 1,000 cuts. And then we got Pino Raymond. You have to help me out with that one. He's not happy with Putin coming in with a euro, with a 12-12 euro. So I know where he stands, and we stand with you. Yeah. Thanks for great content, listening for a long time. First time live. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. Necessary distraction from these times. Greetings from Europe. So appreciate the euro. I am trying to teach Nick. Is that a bike that you got laying down there? I'm so jealous.
It looks like a bike on the beach.
Got rid of my motorcycles about 3 years ago, and I am not the same person without my motorcycles. Not that I was much better before, but still. Yeah, get the hashtag, and appreciate you coming in. Glad you're able to join us. And if we can provide a little distraction and bring half a smile to your face, then we feel good about the job we've done today. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Hashtag bleep Putin for sure. If you don't agree with that, then I don't know. Don't get political on here, Nick. Bleep Putin. He got Michael.
Honestly, it's like too serious for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I get worked up about an overtime rule. I'm like, I can't get into that stuff or I'll lose my mind.
Yeah.
So I know a little bit about what's going on, but I try and stay distracted. I really do.
Yep. And it is definitely a thing of some privilege that we can be distracted because it's not directly, and you have
Count
to
your
think of that
blessings for sure
every day. 100%. Oh, man. Michael Kerr coming in here saying, I've seen some guys say Dean is better than Lloyd, just shorter. What do you guys think? I think it really is going to depend on what you're looking for in a linebacker and what scheme you run. The thing about Dean for me is that he is very small for the position, and I don't think he is going to ever be a dynamic coverage player. And I think he's also always going to need a little bit of protection up front to keep bodies off him. Now, for his size, he actually does a pretty good job of fighting off blocks and beating guys with instincts to the point of attack. And for the linebacker position, you can be small and you can be not a great athlete. You need to be instinctual as heck, though. And Dean isn't instinctual as heck. I just don't know if I value him more than some other guys. And for me, I would take Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is more versatile. I think he's a better 3-4 fit. I think he can wear more hats on your defensive front. So I personally prefer Lloyd. Lloyd will probably end up near my top 10 in my big board when it's all said and done. And Dean will probably be closer to my top 20.
Yeah, I think that Lloyd's a little more versatile as an athlete. As a football player, I think Dean might be a little better. And those are different things. So we're talking about now, or are we talking about projections? And when you're drafting, you're projecting. You're trying to say who's going to help my team more in 3 years. Nakobe Dean is a brilliant football player who's going to make everybody around him better, and he's going to make every play he should. Mm-hmm. Is he going to make the wow play that's going to turn a game for you? Maybe not. But, he might help Bradley Chubb make his wow play because he calls out the call. He makes the call before it happens. We talked a lot about leadership and accountability last year.
Yeah.
With Nakobe Dean, that is done on the field. It's done. You've got your coach on the field for the next decade. What's that worth to you? Maybe not a 9. But if you get Nakobe Dean on your team, you're instantly going to love him. But I wouldn't take him at 9, but I probably wouldn't take Devin Lloyd at 9 either.
Yeah, I could probably talk myself into Lloyd at 9, given this draft class specifically. I'd rather. I'm kind of coming back to the 2013 draft a lot when I'm thinking about this, and who ended up being the best picks in the 2013 draft. Lane Johnson was one of them. Okay, the freak athlete at tackle. You're never gonna have a chance at him unless you're picking in the top 5 anyway. But then the next one was Travis Frederick, and say what you will about center in the first round, but in a crap-tastic draft, getting a surefire guy like that, I think there is some value to that. And Tommy Simmers kind of playing off that point here. Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa will be a top 15 pick post combine. It's very possible. I think in a typical draft, you're seeing him go closer to 25 to 30. But in this class, somebody's going to say, listen, that guy looks like he's going to be a decade-long plus starter, maybe a Pro Bowler in the scheme that I want to run. And I'm not sure about a lot of these other guys. Why don't I just go for the best football player possible and figure out the rest later? Maybe not the best strategy when you're talking about the value game, but maybe a much higher floor with Tyler Linderbaum. Also saying Jordan Davis creep into the top 12. Possibly. We need to see how he tests as well. The thing about Jordan Davis is how many teams are actually looking for a nose tackle, how many teams looking for the space eater versus the more penetration style defensive tackle types like Devontae Wyatt. So we'll see. I mean, it's definitely possible. Like we've said, pick 6 through 60. Good luck. Good luck mocking it. We're gonna have a lot of fun this year.
And the thing is, Nick, your 2013 reference could be dead on. I mean, I'm looking. I would probably trade the 20 through 40 over 1 through 20.
Yeah, it was a crazy draft.
You start getting into some of the back ends of the first round and top of the second round. You start going, yeah, I like these guys. For those of you who wonder what I'm talking about, I'll just drop a link in here. Just looking through there. I'll drop the link in if you want to follow along of what we're talking about. But the top of the draft class was meh, but there's some really good players in there for sure.
Yeah,
it's a quantity draft. It really is. take your shots. Trading back, accumulating picks makes sense. Or if you can trade out and pick up a 2023 equivalent or better, then okay, I'm interested in
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We also got talking about defensive line here. Travis Jones, please, at defensive tackle. He would be great. I'm a big fan of him. I think if you do want him, you have to take him at 40 in this class. Obviously, the Broncos could be moving around a little bit, but I would be shocked if I don't think he's going to go round one. Personally, I guess it's possible. And he also was a Bruce Feldman freak list. It's really hard to watch UConn tape, because the quality of the opponents, but also because Travis Jones is far and away their best player. And you can't hide or scheme open a defensive tackle because there's just too many bodies around them,
He's
So
hitting three guys every
yeah.
time.
Yeah, and it's just like, what is he? I mean, I guess he's doing his job because he's occupying space. I think a really nice scouting term that's kind of been pulled over from basketball is that he has a gravity to him, from opponents schematically. Players just kind of pull to him. You see that with really good wide receivers. You see that with good pass rushers. They have a gravity to them, and good space shooters. But definitely possible there at 50. We also had a question here from Jeremy. Jeremy, definitely a Dapper Dan man. Good to see you. Good to see you, Jeremy. If you had your
I don't want
choice,
Pop.
I'm a Dapper Dan man, damn it. If you had your choice at 9, Stingley or Sauce, on tape and upside and versatility, I lean Stingley. Stingley's 2019 tape is still special, and I still think he has that ability in him. I think he is much more scheme diverse. I think you could see him inside outside. I think you could see him pressing off. You can do zone or man. Sauce to me is a press boundary corner. Yeah, he can follow some guys from the slot sometimes, but much harder for him to press from the slot, considering those wide receivers have a two-way go. That being said, there are questions abound with Stingley. Linz Frank injury. That's a serious injury. If you guys remember, that's what former left tackle, Broncos great at the time, Ryan Clady, he suffered a Linz Frank injury, and he was never the same after that. He went to a shell of himself. It was really a tragedy because he was on his way to having a Hall of Fame career. He was that good in Denver. And then that injury zapped him completely. So that's a concern. Also in today's NFL, you need your cornerbacks to tackle. The teams are just too good at isolating the player in space and being like, oh, this player cannot, he's a negative in the run game. We're going to run crossers until the cows come home and get that cornerback isolated in space based on coverages. And he's going to miss over and over again. And that's a concern with me for Stingley. He has the ability. Does he have the want to? Tackling, a lot of it is fundamentals and mentality. I didn't see that on tape from him this year. And also apparently Sauce Gardner is like a dude when it comes to football character. Like, people rave about him as far as the intensity, the tenacity, the maturity that he brings. So I think it's a coin flip. Working with as little information as I have right now, I lean Stingley, but I could easily, based on more information coming out, more information closer to the situation, flip that to Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, fully healthy, I'd probably choose Stingley. But Nick just talked me into Sauce Gardner just listening right now, honestly.
Yeah.
And the guys coming from the Cincinnatis of the world have a little bit of chip on their shoulder anyway, because they were good enough to go to a place like the Cincinnati Bearcats, but evidently they weren't good enough to get the Ohio State offer, the Michigan offer coming out. So they're pissed off. They're like, see, I told you. So the guys that succeed at that level at a place like that, they've got a little bit extra. And Phil came in with some stars too.
Thanks, Phil.
I want to say thank you, Phil McLaughlin. McLaughlin.
Yeah.
The Scottish. Anyway, I want to say thank you for sure.
Yeah, and talking a little bit of Cincinnati, keep an eye out at the combine for Brian Cook, corner or safety from Cincinnati. He started his career at Howard and then transferred to Cincinnati, and he is one of the best downhill tackling safeties in the game. I mean, he's never going to be a single high safety, but he's really intriguing to me. I don't think he's going to test incredibly, but if you're looking for a safety, round 3, maybe round 4 in this class, he's one of my favorites.
Comment of the day comes from Lawrence Rivera. At least so far, you're the leader in the clubhouse, Lawrence. Says, honestly, we need a wide receiver that can tackle. You might.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something to consider. Honest thing with me, it's if this is going to be more of the Sean McVay offense, something that is somewhat overrated, or not overrated, underrated and overlooked for wide receivers. These guys have to block. If you want to be able to run the football out of 11 personnel, that means you can't have somebody who's out there playing patty cake as a wide receiver. That's honestly one of the things that made the Rams so effective over these last few years. They've been leaning really heavily into the 11 personnel, and I think that's even more important going forward because of the Vic Fangio effect. Let me explain. The 12 and 21 personnel heavy teams over the last 5 years, a lot of that has been done to try to get defenses to react and play more base packages. And when you have linebackers on the field, guess what? You have worse coverage players on the field. You can take advantage of them. But Vic Fangio and now his disciples spreading across the league have said, I don't care if you're playing 21 personnel. I don't care if you're playing 12 personnel. I'm going to stay in sub package. And if you want to run the ball, good for you. I don't care. I'm not going to give up the explosive pass plays. I'm going to stay in sub. So you're losing a little bit of the value for 12 and 21 personnel because teams are just going to stay in nickel and dime anyway. They don't care. So that means you need to be able to run the ball effectively out of 11 personnel because they're not going to change what they're doing as much personnel wise.
And you remember the Smurfs, the small guys from, I mean, like the team, the receivers from the Smurfs. I think that was the Washington Redskins at the time. Their group was called the Smurfs, the small guys, the fun bunch, the greatest show on turf. Those were all smaller guys. Then everybody gets bigger. So the cycle is, what do you do against the sub personnel? Well, I'm going to get bigger and I'm going to run against it. So you see that cycle come all the way around. And you've heard me say it before, but big and fast is scheme resistant. So if I'm big and I'm fast, it's like I might go with the smaller, quick guys. Well, the big, fast guy is always going to work. Yep,
absolutely. Colin coming in saying Matt Paradis is a free agent, worth looking into. I guess if he wanted to come for a really cheap contract, that's possible. He's another one who's had injuries and kind of fallen off. He's been really poor for the Carolina Panthers. And I think that your starting trio next year is going to be the likes of Reisner at left guard, Glasgow at center, and Miners at right guard. I think Cushionberry is going to get displaced for this scheme. And the thing about Paradis too, paying for him, he's purely a center. I think if I'm looking to bring in depth and competition for the interior offensive line, I need somebody who can wear a lot of different hats. Honestly, I think you're thinking of the wrong former Broncos offensive lineman here, who's probably going to be free agent. Billy Turner is a guy to keep an eye on. Came to Denver for a while I think he was from North Dakota State, drafted by Miami. Broncos got him off waivers, and he was pretty darn good for the Broncos to the extent where he got a big deal from the Packers. Packers probably going to have to move on from him. Contractually, they can save a lot of cap moving on from Billy Turner. So keep an eye on Billy Turner. I think that he's one that I would be very interested in bringing back to Denver to not only give yourself a high floor at right tackle this offseason, but somebody who can play guard if you need to as well. Versatility is so key on the offensive line.
And the Smurfs went back a little bit farther than I thought. That was 1982 Washington team. Well, I remember that. I rember the Smurfs and the Fun Bunch.
I remember that one.
That was a long time ago. But again, they went small, and then it goes in cycles. And if you're going to stay in sub package and you're going to run nickel, I'm going to get bigger. So let's go Daniel Falele in the third round. You want to get bigger? I'm good for it.
Yeah, and we got Kyler Gordon coming in from comment from Cleva T saying Kyler Gordon, a cornerback from Washington, could be a decent pick in the second. Plays well on special teams as well. Yeah, Kyler Gordon apparently has been the talk of the town at the combine because he's probably going to test as the biggest freak out of all the players there. It's between him and Tariq Woolen from UTSA, who is a little bit bigger, maybe better straight line. But I think Gordon's a better overall athlete. I think he's a more fluid athlete.
Can he play?
He can play. He's still a little bit.
I've seen some of these West Coast athletes that could test through the roof, Taylor Mays, but couldn't play a lick.
Yeah, no, he can play. I think it's more of a Byron Jones comparison here as far as the athletic profile. I don't love his zone instincts right now, and maybe that's just partially because I have a certain standard for Washington Huskies cornerbacks, given how incredible they have been in zone coverage under Leak's time there at Washington, and also comparison to Trent McDuffie. But Gordon has height, weight, speed, length, athleticism that honestly might be unrivaled in this class. I think he's going to test out the gym. I think he's going to go somewhere in the picks 20 to 32 because it's a value position, and he's just too freaky at that position. I love the background on Kyler Gordon. His two of the skills and athletics that he did off the field prior to football, kung fu, big guy in kung fu, and also ballet. So kung fu and ballet guy, Renaissance
Balance and
man,
flexibility and mental
100%.
toughness, all of those
Yep,
things.
100%.
They all come into play there. Again, well-rounded athletes are better athletes. You can take something from whatever else you decide to do and bring it to your chosen vocation,
Yeah.
and you're better at it.
Yep.
Name the sport. I'll name what the benefit is to another sport. And so I love hearing that kind of stuff. And you hear it all the time. A lot of these guys that make it to the NFL were three-sport guys.
Yep.
Travis Tarbox came in with some stars and double dipping on the stars. Saying, any thoughts on possibly signing the Honey Badger?
I would love it. I absolutely love the Honey Badger. You want to get me going? Let's talk about some versatile safeties who like to come downhill and hit. That's what Honey Badger can do. He's a leader on that back end and a Swiss Army knife. You want to be able to play too high with safeties, he can do that. You want him to come down and play over the slot, he can do that. You want him to get some box reps as kind of an overhang will, he can do that. So I'm curious what his contract is going to look like. But, signing him, bringing him over from Kansas City, maybe getting a little bit of the secret sauce over there, getting some leadership on the back end. And again, getting some versatility in that secondary for a team that is losing 3 of their top 6 defensive backs from last year. 3 of their top 6. So you're going to need some bodies, and Honey Badger is more than a body. He's a good player. I'm not going to look to break the bank for him. If somebody wants to go out there and give him a top 10 safety contract, given his age and where he's kind of trending, no, not for me. But I'd be very interested in him for his skill set and his versatility and his leadership and his tenacity. Denver needs a little bit more dogs there in that back end.
Yeah, and going back from the Honey Badger to Sauce to Smurfs again. Will Denver get Vanity Smurf and Aaron Rodgers? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But we'll see. Today's the Pat McAfee show, free advertisement. There you go, Pat. Saying we might get some Aaron Rodgers clarity today. It just everything at the combine makes
And
it sound like
that's
it's
what I
going to
said.
happen.
People are saying, I'm tired of Aaron Rodgers, this, and this. I'm like, well, it's not Aaron Rodgers that's saying it. It's all
No.
of us that's saying it. Oh, he's going to be on the show. Today's the decision coming. Aaron never said that.
Yeah.
He's on that show all the time.
Yep.
It's all of us speculating on this stuff. And by God, let him take his time. It's his life. It's his decision.
Yeah.
He said, the only thing I remember that he said, and actually I didn't hear him say it, I just take people's word for it. I want to get this done by free agency so Devontae knows.
Yep.
Okay, well, we're not there yet. So other than that, keep your, don't blame Aaron Rodgers for our own impatience. Appreciate you being here, Clayton. And Jelly coming in too. I see Sauce, but I don't know. He's built like a pencil, not afraid to tackle. But NFL wide receivers, running backs are built different. Also, where's Jermaine Johnson? Love to steal in the second. Jermaine Johnson, we've mocked him to the Broncos several times at 9. I've mocked him to the Falcons at 8. I don't think Jermaine Johnson's going to go in the second round. That would be a steal, I tell you for sure. I've seen the skill set to have him play in the top 10. Now let's go to the combine and see if athletically he's got that enough factor that you're looking for too. I mean, could fall to the second, could run. He could perform where you don't want him to. And if you love him, that's what you want. You're like, man, I love this guy. Pull a hamstring, twist your ankle. Don't run so damn fast because I need to pick you later. I can't pick you yet. So we'll see. But I don't think there's any way he makes it out of the first round, Nick.
Yeah, no way. I think he's more likely to go to the Broncos at 9 than he is to make it at the second. Personally, I don't see Jermaine Johnson, and this is an unfair lens because as you guys have been following the draft content here, we've said it 100 times. This is not a very good top-heavy class. I think Jermaine Johnson in most classes goes, the final 10 picks of the first round. That's very possibly where the type of players you're going to get at 9 this season, unfortunately. So I remember people kind of came at me when the Broncos had 3 games left this season. And it's like, listen, Broncos lose out, they could get all the way up to like 7. If they win out, they could go all the way to like 20. I don't think there's going to be much difference there between those players this season. Maybe round 2 that matters more, but it's not like you're tanking to get to this threshold where there's like 10 elite guys. Unfortunately in this class, last year is a different story. But as far as who were we just talking about here? Jermaine Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I wish he was a little bit more twitched up, and I really wish he wasn't going to be 23 years old. That's unfortunate for me for a position where they can fall off at age 29 typically, and there's more. He's had more reps, more years to develop. Like Jermaine Johnson has some of the best hands in this class. Well, he's had 2 more years in college working on it than Trevon Walker, than David Ajabo, than Kayvon Thibodeau.
So I
So
can plug him in. Maybe he's
yeah,
ready. Instead of waiting 2 years for them to learn the position, maybe you get the early 2 years out of him. If I get 8 years out of a Jabo, maybe I get six, and he's only playing his first 2 are kind of a wash, and you get 6
yeah.
out of him. Well, maybe I get 6 out of Jermaine Johnson. I don't know. Just trying to look at it both
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. I like, where are you going with that player? And I'm also very much of the opinion that you draft guys for year 3 and beyond
Mhm.
rather than year 1 and year 2. Um,
Right.
that's just me. That's about the overall health of the roster and
And I'm just
building a
thinking total
sustainable
years
winner.
of productivity, what are you gonna get? Will it be semi-equitable? And does it make that big a difference if I get 6 years of an edge? Hell, the way the Falcons have played edge the last 6 years, I get 1 year out of an edge, I'm gonna do backflips for them.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, they have not had one in a while, man. I was really hoping that the Falcons would win that last game because I didn't want to pick after you because too many of our needs overlap.
Well, the
Tackle,
Falcons
edge,
need everything, that's the thing,
yeah,
so
but you really need edge. Like,
really need right tackle, really need cornerback, really need wide
mm,
receiver, really need, quarterback of the future. Really need
oh,
everything, but edge, yeah. I mean, for those of you who don't know quite how bad the number 8 team who's picking one in front of you, if they added a 10 sack guy, they still would have finished last in sacks in the NFL. If they
yeah.
traded for Bradley Chubb last year and he had 10 sacks, no, and everybody else had the same, so he didn't take away any snaps from everybody. They're playing with 12 guys. Bradley Chubb comes in and gets 10 sacks. The Falcons still would have finished last in the NFL with a double-digit sack guy. It was almost statistically impossible how bad they were getting after the passer. I mean, guys blow assignments. I mean, Stephen Means didn't have a quarterback pressure after week 3 or a quarterback hit after week 3.
That's just it's.
That's
I
that's almost impossible. Somebody in front of you blows an assignment and you get a walk-in
Yep.
at least once.
Yep.
So yeah, if you've got your heart set on an edge, you're probably not going to get them, like Nick's saying. So luckily,
Falcons pick 'em up.
there's 4 guys right there that there's Jermaine Johnson, Ajabo. We're not hearing Carl Loftus anymore, are we?
No, and I will say I was big on Karlaftis earlier
Walker.
in the process. I like Walker a lot, but as
Mhm.
far as Karlaftis goes, my exposure to him was him absolutely beating the bleep out of my Iowa Hawkeyes in 2 different years, and that definitely made an impression on me. Going back, I think it was the Ohio State game. He really struggled. The Wisconsin game, he wasn't very good. I'm curious what he's going to test like. He doesn't have very good lateral agility, and he doesn't have massive length, which makes him kind of a weird prospect. He's still going to go in the top, 25 or whatever. But I'm curious if they're going to ask him to slim down and play edge or bulk up and play the interior. The other thing, too, is while he's very strong as a power rusher, he's not very strong as a run defender, which is odd. I don't know. We'll see how he goes here. He was the only guy on that Purdue defensive line, too, that got any attention. He was getting this guy, if we stop this guy, it's going to be great. We'll be fine. And typically it was. So we'll see what happens with Karlaftis, but he's definitely falling for what he is. Trevor coming in here saying, Nick and Scott, what QBs do you guys feel the Broncos will trade back into the first round to draft? For me, I think right now that Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, if you want them, you have to take them at 9. That's just, we'll see how it plays out. But I think those two right now are the 1A and 1B in this draft class. I'm not a Kenny Pickett guy, older, small hands, limited arm talent. We just went through Teddy Bridgewater. I don't want to spend the 9th overall pick on Teddy 2.0, in my opinion. So those two guys, I don't think you're trading back up into the first round. I think the trading back into the first round screams Matt Corral to me. If Matt Corral falls to the 20 to 25 range, which is possible, then I could see Denver trading up for him. Matt Corral doesn't have the world's strongest arm. He's not the biggest frame guy, but he's very twitchy. He plays at the quarterback position kind of like a shortstop or a second baseman. He doesn't have the incredible arm like a third baseman have or an outfielder, but it's good enough. He cleaned up a lot of his decision making, but he's going to take some time to get out there. He had no pre-snap responsibilities out there. It was the clap, look to the sideline just over and over again, high school style of ball that you kind of see. And a lot of it was generated throws through RPO looks. Granted, Nathaniel Hackett, a lot of RPOs, a lot of glance screens over at Green Bay last year with Aaron Rodgers. So that can be part of the scheme for Corral. It's probably going to take him a year to learn the setting up the line of scrimmage stuff that honestly, that's a projection. Drew Lock still struggles with that. So we'll see about trading back up in the first round. Maybe they trade up to 32 to get a Sam Howell or a Desmond Ridder, but I think you're more likely just to sit there at 40 and see if one of those guys falls to you there.
Yeah, I agree. I just, again, trading back up into the first round, I kind of forgot about Corral. So I think you're right on that, because I was like, I don't know that if they've already made it that far, I'd just rather sit back and wait instead of trying to trade back. And the 5th-year option isn't that big a deal to me. I mean, if you hit on your quarterback, you're going to pay him regardless. I mean, you're going to be able to keep him if you want him for the most part. So that one, I don't know. I'd rather sit back and wait and see who's there for me at my next one rather than give up. I'd rather have an extra second rounder than trade back up into the first. I really would. And take my chance there. Let me see here real quick. There are some questions in here that I liked. Klis says, do you think if you traded 9 to Pittsburgh, you get the same return the Giants got last year for trading with Chicago, which was this year's first, was turned into a top 10 pick? And I think there was another one in there. They swapped picks, and they may have added
I think they got a third.
A throw-in, yeah, a third. Third's not really a throw-in.
No, I think it was pick 20, a third, and a 2022 first for pick 11. Was it pick? It might have been pick 12.
Only if the Malik Willis hype goes off the charts. That's why I've said before, wait for it. Wait for the talk from the Panthers. I read yesterday, and who knows if it's true or not, the Panthers are dead set on taking an offensive lineman at 6. I don't believe anybody's dead set on anything right now.
Yeah.
But listen for the Falcons talking quarterback. They want someone to come and say, you want this quarterback, come and get him, and it's going to cost you. Listen for the Broncos to start talking up quarterback. Who did they meet with yesterday? They met with 3 quarterbacks. Yep. We loved them. If they start talking, very interesting players, very strong. They'll leave little breadcrumbs to tease the fact that, we could take a quarterback at 9, because if they want to get the best return for a trade, it's got to be someone coming up to get a quarterback. Otherwise, you'll be lucky to pick up another second moving down, let alone a first and a third.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we got good morning, gentlemen. Happy first day of the combine. Colin saying it's like the anonymous sources that provide the rumors that fuel this podcast. Well, when you have 3 shows a week, sometimes you got to riff off of that information. So if you don't like it, Colin,
talking about some, people spouting nonsense and the circle. Colin's grouchy Smurf.
Phil coming in here.
Phil McLaughlin saying, morning guys, with the stars coming, is anyone going to the combine? Also, it's possible that Thompson a sleeper pick this year. And I know one I saw earlier. I can't remember who asked, but I wanted to answer because I saw it twice. Was Max Mitchell in the second tackle for Louisiana? Not for me. He got his butt whooped at the Senior Bowl. Now, that's not the be-all, end-all, but if that's what I'm there to see, and I'm like, all right, convince me, I was convinced that I want somebody else in that spot. Several other guys in that spot, actually. I've gone to the combine a couple times, and it's more to do interviewing of the prospects for content, which I really don't care about right now. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
As far as actually scouting the guys, I can do it better from my lazy boy with a remote control.
Yeah.
And frankly, a combine you can scout from a spreadsheet. So I'm not going. I don't think anybody from Mile High Huddle is going this year as well.
No, but keep an eye out for potentially Vegas. We'll see if there's any headway there, but maybe. As far
that
as
would be a fan event, again, if we went to Vegas, that's not for media coverage. That would be a fan event. So if we do that, it would be a meet and greet. It would be an off-season meet and greet.
Yep, absolutely. As far as some depth players, somebody ask about some depth at the tackle position. Who are some of the guys to keep an eye on? We already talked about Braxton Jones. I'm curious to see if Bernard Raymond falls to Denver at 40. It's unfortunate because you have a lot of teams that pick right before Denver in that 33 to 39 range that are desperate for tackles. And a lot of times you see teams, they'll get especially the terrible teams in the draft. It's really a pretty common practice. You see them get a blue chipper in the top 5, top 6, and then turn around with their first pick in the second round and get the best offensive lineman available because holy bleep, we're bad because our offensive line is probably trash. So I don't know if you're going to get that tackle that you want to fall to you at pick 40. I've been involved in multiple mock drafts now, especially ones with other people as the general managers, it's always like pick 38 or pick 36. The tackle that I'm hoping falls to me is off the board. So probably not going to happen there. Max Mitchell, you talked about him. I wouldn't probably take him until the very end of the third round. If that,
Yeah,
pick
I don't want him in the
96.
second.
Yeah, no, definitely not in the second. I don't see it with him to that extent. I think there is some upside there, but we'll see. There's also oh gosh, his name is escaping me right now. The Tulsa um, guy who's getting a lot of hype right now.
Chris
Very,
Paul.
very, no, not Chris Paul, the other one. The one who just got mocked in the first round by Daniel Jeremiah,
All
who
right, Chris
had,
Paul was the one at the Senior Bowl.
yes, the other one.
I don't know.
Tyler Smith, I believe is his name. He's one to keep an eye on for the tackles that
And
you
there's
could.
another one. Like we said, we mentioned so many names all the time of guys we like that there's going to be good players that fall to your pick in the second round that there's just no reason to trade up in this draft. There's none. I'd rather trade back. Give me more players, not
Mhm.
a higher pick for this draft especially.
Yeah,
Interior guys, small school guys, interior guys to keep an eye on. Jatire Carter from Southern University. I like him. Tackles, we know, and then one of the guys I like, Abraham Lucas, Washington
yes.
State,
Yep.
6'6" and change, 330 pounds with a strong base and good feet. This is a draft for you want to have a bunch of picks. I don't know how many times, as many times I've said it, as many picks as you want to have. Michael,
Yeah.
appreciate the support, my friend, as always.
Yeah, absolutely. Another name to keep an eye on for the Broncos as far as an outside zone scheme fit is Nicholas Petit-Friere. He kind of scares me as far as his anchor. Aiden Hutchinson absolutely beat the brakes off of him in that game. Now, granted, the field was a slippery mess. One of the reasons Ohio State probably lost to Michigan in that game is it turned in kind of a nobody has their footing type of matchup, which impacted the pass game. But I digress. But Nicholas Petit-Friere is one to keep an eye on as well. I thought he was better at right tackle than left tackle as well. So, and I think he was also a super highly rated recruit. I worry about that anchor strength. I don't know if he has the core strength or the frame to fix that so much, but he moves very well in space and he's long. So like him a lot.
So Trevor says, Scott, do you see the Broncos taking a look at Matt Ryan if they don't get some of the bigger name QBs? The chatter out of Atlanta right now is that the Falcons think that they are still going to compete, that they weren't that far off. They were 7-10. I think they were 7-8 at one point in the playoff hunt till the end. They want to try and build some semblance of a roster around Matt Ryan in order for him to try and be as competitive as possible next year and maybe the year after. We will know more when we see what they do with his contract. People are like, oh, Matt Ryan's too expensive. He's got a huge cap hit. He does have a huge cap hit. That's the Falcons' problem. That's not your problem if you trade for him. His base salary is only like 16.5. If you were to take him, but if you were to get rid of him as the Falcons on his $46.7 million cap hit, you'd save $8 million. It costs you that much to replace him if you're the Falcons. So you're better off at least one more year with Matt Ryan. Do not restructure, do not extend, and just get that stupid contract that Dimitroff and Rich McKay have been kicking the can down the line, and get that contract off the books so you have some flexibility in 2023. If they do, then they're all in for a quarterback in 2023. If they move on from Matt Ryan, this is a 2-15 team. It's just, Cordell Patterson, it's funny. I think the Falcons had more top 101 free agents than the Broncos, and the Broncos tied up their best guys and are still $30 million under the cap. But Russell Gage finished really well last year. 26-year-old free agent wide receiver. Cordell Patterson, you've heard me talk about him a lot. And then the NFL's leading tackler. Those guys are all free agents. They're all going to double their money. They're $6 million over the cap right now before they try and re-sign these guys who are at least going to double their money. Yep. It's a bad situation for Atlanta next year. So,
and honestly, if I was in charge of the Falcons, I would just say we're going to take our medicine right now. We're going to get that cap as healthy as possible, and we are going to be essentially an expansion team in 2022, which gets my cap right and also gives me it's not a tanking if your team is so bad that you don't have to try to lose games. So that's what I would do if I was the Falcons. And also that's because the top of the 2023 class, there are 3 players coming out next year that I think are absolutely incredible.
Franchise guys.
Yeah, it's like either you're
Mhm.
going to get a potential franchise quarterback in Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, or you're going to get the best pass rushing prospect since Myles Garrett came out in Will Anderson Jr. And if I can get one of those guys right and get my cap right, that gives me a much better footing going forward. I don't think there's I hate the piddling in the middle. We're at a half rebuild, half trying to compete this year. No, all in or all out. All in or all out. I don't need no middle ground. Get it right.
The middle ground's gonna get Arthur Smith fired
Yep.
because if they eke around and try and extend their guys, and just okay, we're gonna scrape by in the draft and bargain free agents, then you might be 6-11 again, 7-10. But then what? In 2023, you're not able to really build that much anymore anyway. It's bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would move Matt Ryan if I could. If could get a second rounder for Matt Ryan and just take the lumps and rebuild and give that message out, I would, because it's got a really good chance to get worse in Atlanta before it gets better. Um, they were fortunate to win 7 last year, and they could be losing some key pieces that helped them win 7. Jelly says, any corners round 3 or later?
Round 3 later, we kind of talked about him earlier, but I think Marcus Jones would be an incredible scheme fit. He is tenacious. He is an incredible athlete, and he is one of the best returners in all of football. So it's really, I mean, the Broncos have a massive need at the return game. You listen to Stuker, say the Broncos special teams coach say that the Broncos last year were dead last in kick return and punt return. They're also losing their top 2 snap earners last season in from the nickel spot. So Marcus Jones is a 3-for-1 in that regard. So I'd love him. Round 3, he might go round 2. We'll see. I really like Cam Taylor Britt out of Nebraska. He's a very good athlete. I think he has some outside ability as well. And then there's 2 guys from Arizona State who intrigue me in Jack Jones and Chase Lucas. Maybe just everybody get your coffee ready to drink. Very late, maybe round 4 or 5, but Iowa's own Matt Hankins. He was a starter there since his freshman year. He's not a dynamic player, but we saw the Broncos target Michael Ojemudia for his off-ball skills coverage or his off skills coverage. And Hankins can do that as well. I don't think he's a dynamic athlete, which you do want at the cornerback position. But when you're talking about day 3 cornerbacks, guess what? Not many dynamic athletes fall in there. I think you're muted, Scott.
Sorry, I was yelling. My wife was leaving.
Oh, okay.
Bye-bye. So sorry, guys. I was referring to Skylar Thompson.
I'll be honest with you. I've not watched much Skylar Thompson. I think he is a quarterback from oh my god, it's a Big 12 school. It might be Kansas State. He is participating in the NFL Combine. I will say again, the fact that somebody hasn't put him on my radar makes me think that he's probably not a dude. But we'll see. I mean, gosh, he's gonna get a chance to make some noise throwing at the NFL Combine and going through the drills. If he belongs, there's gonna be some buzz out there for the arm talent because it'll be apparent. Seeing those guys live, seeing how the ball comes out of their hands, seeing the zip, seeing how it lands in those other receivers' hands, if there's any actual pop behind it. If he belongs, it'll show.
Keep an eye on the 20-yard out. That's the NFL throw. That's the benchmark one. Just when they start running, can he hit that 20-yard out to the sidelines on a line? If he can do that, he's got a chance. Mark Schrader coming with more stars. Is there one free agent you think should be on the Broncos' radar this offseason? Just one? Just one?
It sounds like Josie Jewell is the guy who's on there. That's the only one who they've been directly tied to. His Josie Jewell's camp and the Broncos are meeting at the combine to hopefully work out a deal before free agency. So that's somebody who interests me a good bit. And then you also have, I think Darius Williams is the name, a name to keep an eye on as well. I've been talking about the Broncos need another cornerback back there. Darius Williams, the Rams used a first-round tender on him last offseason. He's been with Ejiro Evero for years now with the Rams as well. And, a lot of times when a new defensive coordinator or a position coach comes over, they tend to bring their own dudes because they have familiarity with them. They know what they're asking of them. They just have, that chemistry and that back and forth. So keep an eye on him as well, maybe coming over to Denver. And Mark Schrader also says, I like the cornerback for the Rams. That's who we're talking about here. So that's one that makes a lot of sense. If the Broncos do want to pay big money at the cornerback position, the linebacker position, I would be interested in Devontae Campbell. I really liked him coming out of Minnesota. I thought the Falcons did a good job getting him. And he looked incredible in likely what the scheme the Broncos are going to run this season. So it's definitely possible.
Well, I tell you what, Nick, going back to the Falcons drink, one of those free agents we were talking about led the NFL in tackles last year.
Yep.
Foye Oluokun. For all the things I like about Nakobe Dean, Foye Oluokun is already that guy. He's a Ivy League graduate, self-made, led the league in tackles with about 190 last year. That maybe, I don't think it'll happen, but the guy that I always come back to on this is Chuks Okorafor.
Mm-hmm.
He is, how old is he? He's 24 years old. 1,100 snaps last year and gave up 2 sacks at right tackle.
Yeah.
You got money. I mean,
some of that is because Roethlisberger wouldn't even get to the back of his drop before he threw it behind the line of scrimmage. Like his spray chart was hilarious.
There's more to it than that. But, when I have watched the right tackle play that we've watched this year, 2 sacks from that position sounds pretty good for a 24-year-old kid who's now a free agent because he was a second or third round pick.
Out of Western Michigan. I remember him and Taylor Moton.
Real interested there. And then, again, my favorite player to watch last year, Cordero Patterson. I mean, you've got extra money. Find a way to use him. He can improve special teams right away at the very least. He does everything with this megawatt light up Mile High Stadium smile, and he plays his ass off.
Yeah.
He plays every down like it's his last. When you get him the ball, when he gets the ball in offense, he attacks the defense like it's a kick return. And he was on $3 million last year. Now, he might be tough to get out of Atlanta. He seems to be happy, but then they'll kick around some money and try and get up to around 6. But Melvin Gordon was on 8 last year. You could offer him that 6, double his money, and see what he says, and still put $2 million somewhere else.
Yep. Michael Kirk coming in, Burks or London. This for me is pretty easily. It's Treylon Burks. I don't really get the massive hype with Drake London. I think he's going to run like a 4.6, maybe a 4.5. Just doesn't really separate.
But he's 6'5".
Yeah, but Treylon Burks is 6'3", 200.
I'm not a London guy, but I'm not worried about a 4.6 guy when he's 6'5".
I am a little bit as far as a first round evaluation. But Burks is an absolute unit. I think there is a reality out there where Scott loses his mind because the Falcons take him at 8. He is 6'3", 230 pounds. They have to make custom gloves for him because his hands are so big. He wears 5XL gloves. He has like 11.5-inch hands. And honest to God, when I watch him, I really get Georgia Tech Demaryius Thomas vibes from him. Because the route running is still kind of a work in progress, but as far as the schemed touches and down the field passes, the size that he has and the momentum that he has because of his size is incredible. He's an incredible player. The route running is going to have to do some work, but it didn't really matter for the 49ers with Brandon Ayuk. It's that kind of thing where he doesn't really know how to run routes right now, but my God, he's a freak athlete and has these crazy arms and these tools. I think Treylon Burks, honestly, I don't know if Treylon Burks is going to get out of the top 10 after the combine. He's going to be one that everybody's talking about 3 days from now. Is like, holy bleep, that guy's incredible.
Yeah, and that's where Jake comes in. He says, how high would you take a wide receiver if one fell? For the Broncos, I don't want a receiver at Broncos at 9. It's just, unless I'm trading somebody, there's only one ball, and you've got 3 pretty good wide receivers already, plus 2 pretty good tight ends, plus a good running back. The offensive skill isn't the problem. But again, are a couple of these guys worthy of a number 9 pick or a number 8 pick? Yeah, maybe, but it just doesn't make any sense for the Denver Broncos at 9. So move back. There's a bunch of day 2 guys. So if you wanted to add some depth to the room with your second pick in the second round, look at George Pickens, who came out of University of Georgia, missed most of last year with a knee injury. Look at Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. Again, that 6'4", 6'5" guy. If he runs in the 4.6s, I'm happy. He might do better than that. Mm-hmm. There's lots of those type of players in the second round. So wide receiver in the first doesn't make a lot of sense to me for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Some other guys that I want to throw out here. John Mechie, probably never going to be a wide receiver 1, but he's going to fall a bit because the ACL. That's a guy where because you have 3 good wide receivers above him already, you don't need him day 1. So maybe stash him and get better value later because you're in a unique position there. And I really like a few of the smaller bodied guys. The Broncos right now have some size and route running, but I'm looking for a little bit more explosive, dynamic ability with the ball in their hands. So somebody like a Wan'Dale Robinson, he's 5'11", 190 pounds. He's a thick, thick boy. Really enjoyed him at Kentucky next year, man. You're going to hear me if the Broncos don't get a quarterback this draft class. You guys are probably going to hear me talk a lot about Will Levis this offseason at Kentucky. I really liked a lot of his tape this season. Quarterback at Kentucky, and guess who the new offensive coordinator is for Kentucky? Rich Scangarello, talking about that West Coast offense.
I knew he had gone somewhere that it made that I remember. He was asked about yesterday what happened with him after he left Denver. He went to San Francisco, was a quarterback's coach. Now he's the OC at the Kentucky Wildcats.
Kentucky, absolutely. So a couple other names I want to shout out here. I really love Sky Moore at Western Michigan. He's weird to watch because he wears number 24 at Western Michigan, which is like, that's not a great aesthetic for a wide receiver, but some of his releases are awesome. He's sometimes a body catcher, but he doesn't drop balls, so he's gonna have some things to work on. But I really like him. And then somebody who stood out at the Senior Bowl, he's teeny tiny, but he is a freak athlete. And think about him in the Isaiah McKenzie mold, where he's kind of a gadget player, but like get him scheme touches in space and giddy up. Calvin Anderson. Calvin Austin III out of Memphis. He is a track guy. I know he's tiny, but it's a space game in today's NFL. There's more space games than ever. So he's one that intrigues me if you're looking for true dynamic jitterbug ability.
See, and Nick, this is too old for you also. As soon as you said 24 in wide receiver, my thought immediately went to Rocket Ishmael. I'm like, well, what number did Rocket wear at Notre Dame? 25. Yeah. So he was a Heisman Trophy winner at Notre Dame. Max Bauer coming in with the $2 euro coming in from I screwed it up now, the pound, 2 pounds. Would you take, what's that name? Dotson. Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I love Jahan Dotson. He is a good route runner, and he's one of the best contested catch players in this draft class. If he fell to round 2, I'd take him. I'm expecting somebody to take him. We're talking about these teams that are, drafting before the Broncos round 2. If let's say the teams, there's going to be probably 3 offensive tackles taken in the first 6 picks. Those teams, since they already got their offensive tackle, maybe looking to add some wide receiver talent. The Jets really need wide receiver talent. The Giants could use another wide receiver because Kenny Galladay looks, terrible for them. The Jags need some pass catching help. That's where I'm expecting Jahan Dotson to go off the board. If he's there at 40, he might be too talented to skip, even though you don't want to use that pick. Draft picks are supposed to be what they're going to be throughout the duration of their contract and their career. And Dotson's a really, really good player. So like him a lot. The DWI guys coming in here with 50 again. Thank you so much, Ethan. Again, I know we've kind of, been using this as a little bit of an escapism, always, but especially right now in the trying times that the world is facing, especially over in Europe, and thinking about you and your Ukrainian wife right now. God, just hope we get some peace and resolution, but who knows? Anyway, Ethan coming in saying, I have not given up on Aaron Rodgers. More contributions to the TFARF fund, which is the Trade for Aaron Rodgers fund. Great show, gents, and Broncos country. Thank you. Needed some downtime. The closer. And Ethan, I don't know I think you are following us on Twitter. If you ever have any questions or anything, I've seen your DWI guys logo on Twitter a few times, but seriously, DM at me on Twitter if you have a question. You want to give me an escape to get on my phone and talk football on Twitter? Yes, please. Give me that. Scott said, yes, Joe. Nick blew up my phone. I wasn't trying to blow up your phone, Scott. I just was talking ball because I need it. I'm addicted. Twitter is my God. Twitter's a hell of a job.
I was more mad about it because I'd screwed up my pick. I'm like, sure, that's the one you're gonna show everybody that I took Ritter with the 40th and skipped Travis Jones. It was
a good one. It was a good draft.
It ended up being a good draft, because again, we ended up with a just result when the Bengals played the Chiefs. It doesn't mean I didn't screw it up on the way there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we got some supers coming in. You guys are amazing. We want to make sure that we get to these before we get on out because we're already at an hour and 18 minutes, hour and 19. Edge day 1 and quarterback day 2 are the best bets. No, definitely possible right now, but I think the Broncos are going to try to trade back. Maybe even if that's taking a little bit less compared to the draft value chart than typically. But I think they're going to try to trade back, and then who knows from there? Maybe Trent McDuffie's the best player on the board when they're picking. Maybe it's Bernard Raymond is the best player on the board when they're picking. We got to see what the board looks like where they're picking. Yep. If they stay at 9, I would say Edge is probably the best bet within a quarterback day 2, but I don't know if they're going to stay at 9. We're going to find out more of the combine. And again, it takes 2 to tango, but I think the Broncos are going to trade back. And here's a little tidbit. Mel Kiper's mock draft 2.0 or 3.0 just came out today. He had the Broncos trading back to 13 and getting an edge rusher. So there's a lot of talk of trade for the Broncos trading back, and it would make some sense. Thank
Yeah,
you very much,
that's what
Dave.
we did yesterday. We went edge, then we would have gone nose guard because Travis Jones was the best player available. But if there was an offensive tackle there, would have gone OT there, and then quarterback. Because again, in the 50s with Desmond Ridder, I think that's a fair bet. And then we're almost finished out of here. Peter says, how many drafted quarterbacks do you see starting the season considering the apparent poor draft class? Playing early is about need, not necessarily talent. So it depends on where they go. I think that Carolina, even if they take a quarterback, they ride Sam Darnold for a year and then push him along his merry way.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Pittsburgh, what do they do? Is Mason Rudolph still there? If they take a guy, maybe they rolled Mason Rudolph for a year. The Denver Broncos draft a guy. Maybe they roll Drew Lock for a year. So a lot of these guys could use a year off, do the Trey Lance style, but it depends on where they end up. And, maybe if they draft a guy, they waive the guys they currently have. So we will see. Everybody liked the draft class much better last year. The good news for these guys, they might go to better teams because they're getting drafted later. So they might all get the Mac Jones treatment and go to a team in the 20s, in the teens, and get a better team around them and not struggle as mightily as the guys at the top of the draft did this past year.
Yeah. No, absolutely. As far as how many quarterbacks starting this season, I could see as much as 4 just because these teams are trying to see what their assets have. And I think a lot of teams are going to be like, oh, if I don't see it from you early, then maybe I'm going to be looking for a quarterback in the 2023 draft, which promises right now to have a lot more talent at the top. But Brent Mason coming and saying, am I crazy for believing there's several solid starting quarterbacks in this draft? Really like Ridder, Howell, and Corral for the scheme. All these guys I think could be solid. I think the issue is there's a difference between solid, drafted in the 20 to 50 range versus a franchise viewed possible prospect. Obviously, quarterback is such a hard position to evaluate. Teams can never really assess the human element, and it's as much a arm talent, athleticism position, actually less so than it is, processing, instincts, toughness, competitive, the intangibles. So it's tough, but one of these quarterbacks is going to end up being a solid starter, I believe. Good luck pointing out which one it is. I don't
last know. One that we're going to get out of here from Brent Mason. And Brent, that feels like a new name. I think in February, there are about 140 individual contributors on YouTube. So this feels like a new name. Might not be because there's a bunch of people, but welcome. Am I crazy for believing that there are several solid starting quarterbacks in this draft, really like Ridder, Howell, and Corral for this scheme? No, you're not crazy. It's just usually, again, someone will jump out of this group and become a guy. It's just normally all the indicators that you're normally looking for as a scout, there's big question marks next to every one of them. Someone's going to develop. Someone's going to be the guy, maybe more than one of these guys. I'm willing to take a shot on Desmond Ridder late second, early third. I think he could be the guy. I'm not willing to take a shot on him in the first. Too many question marks next to him. Someone of the 6 or 7 guys that are going to get drafted, 8 players that are going to get drafted, someone, maybe more than one, are going to answer these questions and become a solid starter. But there's a bunch of questions right now that keeps them from going in the top 15 where we normally see quarterbacks go.
Yep. Well, guys, we got to get on out of here. It's getting a little bit long, but we really appreciate everybody joining us today. Gosh, especially, if this can be a little escapism and silliness and just a distraction for the world at large, just for a little bit. We hope we can provide that for you guys in a safe and engaging environment. You guys are great. We appreciate you. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also, make sure you guys are following us on our Twitter accounts at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook, you're probably already a part of the group, but if you're not, go to Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Probably the number one thing you guys can do to support us is if you go to YouTube, create a YouTube account. If you haven't yet, what are you doing? Then when you're there, make sure you subscribe to our channel, the Mile High Huddle channel. That way you'll know when we go live. We go live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday morning, and 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every day we're out here creating content, having an engaging conversation with you guys, and having a lot of fun. Again, it's escapism. It doesn't always have to be serious. It's just really here to hang out and talk some ball. It's a lot of fun. Make sure you like to the channel as well and share it on your social media platforms as well. It's, again, not everything has to be serious. Not everything has to be the biggest thing in the world, but it is valuable because you guys make it valuable for us. If you are on Apple, please go to iTunes, find Mile High Huddle, and leave us a 5-star review and comment. I keep saying it, but at some point I'm going to go there and screen capture a bunch of the reviews, and we'll treat those like super chats. Maybe we'll even do that Thursday. I don't know. We'll talk with Scott. And speaking of Scott, we're going to be live on Scott's channel tomorrow at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. Make sure you're subscribed there. At some point, gosh, we might even start doing Wednesdays and Fridays. We'll see. I don't want to put any words in Scott's mouth for that.
Well, this Friday with the start of the combine might be a good day to go.
It might be. And we're going live there at 7:30 Mountain Time instead of 8 where we had previously, just because you guys are making the content and the discussion so enjoyable that we're going a little bit longer. So, Scott, what's the rest of your day looking like?
Oh, let's see. Sports. Got to get some work done. Got to check out Mel Kiper's his mock, and then some midday international football, and then some softball with the girl, with the daughter. She's got a softball game tonight.
Yeah.
And then Huddle Up Pod, 6:00 Mountain Time.
Yeah. We'll see you guys tonight for building the Broncos.
That one is what I meant.
Yep, for sure. With Carl and I, you guys be great. Enjoy the combine. Good luck getting work done this week as you're trying to scroll through and see all the official measurements coming through, and as those mock draftable graphics start to come out to the spider webs, if you will. But you guys have a great one. Stay safe. Choose kindness. Choose compassion. Go Broncos.